Yeah. All right. Well, to those of you who are here, welcome. I am so glad that you're here to support authors and readers and, of course, Grassroots Bookstore. I'm Ashley, the event and social media coordinator for Grassroots in Corvallis, Oregon. And tonight we are kicking off our very first event of Romance Literature Month with author Beverly Jenkins and publicity expert Pamela Jaffee. So quick overview, Romance Literature Month is an event series designed to help us all celebrate love in all its forms all throughout February. Historically, romance literature, as we were just discussing, has been a snubbed genre, dismissed from literary circles, though romance novels, of course, serve a really important function to readers and writers and literary communities. This month is aimed at romance literacy and romance appreciation, celebrating the stories that help us define, explore, and of course, celebrate love. So without further ado, let me introduce our speakers. I'm pretty sure you probably already know Beverly Jenkins, but I will give the bio anyways. Beverly Jenkins is the recipient of the 2018 Michigan Author Award by the Michigan Library Association, the 2017 Romance Writers of America Lifetime Achievement Award, as well as the 2016 Romantic Times Reviewer's Choice Award for Historical Romance. She is nominated for the NAACP Image Award in Literature, was featured in the documentary Love Between the Covers and on CBS Sunday Morning. Since the publication of Night Song in 1994, she has been leading the charge for inclusive romance and has been a constant darling of reviewers, fans, and her peers alike, garnering accolades for her work from the likes of the Wall Street Journal, People magazine, and NPR. A lifelong reader, Pamela Jaffee channels her passion for books into creating sweeping publicity and integrated marketing campaigns for authors. As a publicity expert, Pam concepts and implements traditional digital media and social network campaigns for single titles and series, creating branding strategies to build author awareness and generating engaged consumer awareness via interactive events. So here's the way that this whole event will work. Beverly and Pamela will engage in conversation, and then we'll open up the floor to a Q&A from audience members for the last 15 or 20 minutes of the hour. Please use the Q&A to indicate if you have a question during the presentation. Afterward, we'll be using that to run the Q&A portion of the event. I also want to note that Beverly's forthcoming book, Wild Rain, will be out in just a few days on February 9th. I'm pulling it up now. I'll also be posting the link to buy it in the chat shortly. I highly encourage you to buy it from us. Not only will you be supporting Bev as an author, but also Grassroots as a small indie bookstore that's able to bring events like this to you. So that all being said, let me hand the reins over to Pamela and Beverly.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley. Thanks, Pam.
So happy to be here with you tonight, sister of my soul.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I think we have 50 participants, so thank you all for coming and showing up. I love the support. So hopefully we'll have some fun. So put your questions.
Put your questions.
Yeah, put your questions up, and we will get to them in just a little bit. So.
And I want to know who else is in this girlfriend club. Like, my lipstick matches Bev's shirt. So who else is in this color tonight? Just raise your hand. Evidently, we're themed. Yeah. Okay. So this event actually, I mean, we're really excited to be kicking off Grassroots, inaugural romance type of education month. And I love that I was able to talk Bev into doing this because really, Bev, has used her books so much, not just to delight readers, but to educate readers about American history, the Black place in American history, all the way up to today. And in her contemporaries, there's nothing about your books that don't enlighten Miss Bev. But let's roll this back to the very beginning. Let's roll it back to the 1990s when Miss Bev entered romance. Talk to me about you coming onto the scene.
Well, there were not a lot of women of color writing back then. I don't know if I was the first for Avon, but I think I might have been the first historical. Of course, Ben Stevens had published Sandra Kitt and Elsie Washington and those ladies in the early 90s. but for, you know, a long time, it was a very, very small part of the romance genre. So then in 93, when Alan Edwards purchased Night Song, and it was published in the summer of 94, things got a little bit better. Kensington had initiated the Arabesque line. So we call that the 94 the summer of Black love, because it was me, it was the ladies at Arabesque, there was Brenda, and I don't know who were the first women in that first group, but Gwen Forrester and Margie Walker and Betty Ford and Rochelle Allers and Donna Hill. And for a while, we were sort of the core of Black romance. But I was the only one doing historicals. I was out here, you know, doing historicals for quite some time, all alone. But I had my own niche. So things are sort of better now. We have a ton of women, Black, Indigenous, people of color, all the other identities that are writing and expanding the genre so that it more reflects what the country looks like. Because, you know, everybody needs love. And for a while, the only people who were getting love were white people. So, you know, that didn't work. But things are much better, a little bit better. It could be a lot better, but we'll take what we have right now and build on that.
Things are getting better. It's a steady change, and I think we just need to keep marching. I think that's important.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and that's something that I'll talk a little bit more later down in the question queue, because I know it's important for you to have people keep marching.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about your first few books because they were extraordinary. They were very different. You know, you wrote about a college-educated woman who falls in love with a cavalry sergeant, and then a Black man who gives up his freedom for the woman he loves. Shockwaves. I mean, that changed everything.
I mean, it didn't make sense to me to do these stories with these Black characters and paint it against a majority white background. Because we had a history that was rich and deep and very, very rooted in America. And, you know, and at the same time, you know, I saw an interview yesterday with Brenda Jackson, you know, and at the same time we had, you know, romance editors who didn't believe Black love existed. We had editors who didn't think that a Black woman could write historicals because, you know, and Vivian showed me the article that this was in when she was my agent. And the editor said, you know, number one, there wasn't a Black woman who had the talent to do it. And we didn't have the history. We didn't have the scope. So, you know, here I am, 26 years later with, you know, 41 books. So, you know, she was wrong. But they didn't know what to do with my first book. I mean, publishing, when they're talking 19th century historicals, it has to have slavery in it. I mean, just like all the movies, just like everything you see in you know, mainstream media, it's all focused on pain. It's all focused on our enslavement. And you get this very, very narrow picture of our contributions or our presence. Because, you know, they never could talk about the contributions, they just talk about the presence. So for me to show up with a book about a Buffalo soldier, you know, and the 10th Cavalry was one of the most decorated soldiers in the West, an Oberlin educated school teacher, because Oberlin was one of the few schools that, you know, colleges that let people of color attend, and to put them in a all Black town on the plains of Kansas. You know, New York was like, what are we supposed to do with this? We, you know, we don't have a box for this, you know. doesn't have slavery in it. What do we do? So luckily, as I said, I was in the right place at the right time with the right talent and the right opportunity and the right editor. Because Ellen Edwards was phenomenal, and she took a chance on me and basically taught me, how to structure a romance, a historical romance. And the rest, as they say, is history. So, so in the meantime, I've done little known Black history with Black and Brown outlaws of Indian Territory. I've done Black pirates. I've done the Jean de Couleur of Louisiana, my Leveques, the Black contributions to the American Revolution. I mean, there's very, very little that I have not covered for 19th century, because that's my most favorite century. But there's still lots and lots and lots and lots of nuggets out there waiting for me to pick up and put in a story. So I'm having fun.
You're having fun, and you're reintroducing audiences to your earlier gems of your novels. Vivid, you just repackaged and put right back out there, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and that was reader fed. One of the women on my Facebook page, last year was Vivid's 25th anniversary. And it's one of the great things about romance, and our books stay in print for so long. And Vivid has been in print for 25 years. So we were sort of on the page celebrating. We'd done a book club and all of that. And one of the readers said, well, Miss Bev, can we have a hardcover edition? And back when it came out, the only hardcovers that were being done were done by like the Doubleday Book Club. So luckily for me, I have a great agent, and she has
the best.
Yeah, I think she's the best. We've been together, forever. We were both like 14 when we started.
I want to hear it.
I know. She's an in-house self-publishing arm. So I proposed it to her, and she was like, sure. So then I went to my good friend and fellow author Iris Bowling, who is a force of nature in her own right, because she has such fabulous covers. And I asked her who did her covers, and that's one of the great things about romance, is that we share stuff. And she was nice enough to share with me the young woman's name. So she did the cover. I gave her a couple prompts. I wanted a cameo on the cover, and she took that and she ran with it, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Oh my God! And I should probably have a cover here, but a book here, but I don't. You guys can order it through Grassroots if you want a hardcover. So Indigo, which is my third book, it's 25 years old this year. So I'm hoping that once I get a chance to breathe, we will put together a hardcover edition for that. And that the woman who did this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cover for Vivid will lend her talents to the hardcover edition for Indigo. So yeah. And then and they're back in print. Well, they've stayed in print because I have the rights to those. When they went out of print, years ago, Avon gave me back the rights. So I've been steady. They've been steady, bringing mama money every month, and it's been a good thing.
Okay, Mama. Well, let's talk about pirates, because a lot of readers love your pirates.
Yeah. Pirates. I started, the Leveques started the first book after Indigo. You see Raymond Leveque in Indigo, which came out in 96. And I did his first book, Through the Storm. So then we had a whole series of books with the family. So I always wanted to do Black pirates, based on the true history of, I think 30% of pirates were were men of color. Many of them escaped fugitive slaves. So I started, went back and did the patriarch of that line, Dominique Levesque. And the people just loved it. I mean, it was just, it's a great story. You get, you know, a lot more history with him. And then my other pirate is a female, and she's a gun runner for Cuban revolutionaries during the first Cuban War against Spain. So, you know, you can take the history and you can, you know, weave it through a great love story and educate and entertain your readers, and they absolutely love it. They see characters that look like them, which was something that I never had growing up. And it also shows white readers that it's just a good story. You know, race has nothing to do with a good story. And there's no reason why you can't embrace them the way you do romance from a writer who is not Black. So serves two purposes in Black romance, to serve our core readers and to show those who may not know how passionate we love, that we do love with a passion. So.
Oh, Melissa Mitchell would love to know the name of all your pirate novels. Can you do that?
Everything is on my website.
Hang on, I'm going to be going there right now.
It's captured. One is Captured, which is the first Levesque book, and Destiny's, I think it's Surrender.
Let's see, we have Captured, Destiny's Captive.
Okay, that's it, Destiny's Captive. You know, I need the readers here. They can answer all these questions. I too many books, too little brain cells right now. So, but yeah, Captured is the first one, and Destiny's Captive, which is the third book in the Destiny series. So, yeah, hopefully that answered your question. But go to my website. My web people have put together two lists. There's a list for.
Thanks, Ashley.
There's a list for books as in publishing order, and then there's also a list where they've broken them down into series. So you have your choice. So me, I prefer you read them in order. That way you don't miss anything. But you know, people go, well, I want all the Becks, or I want all the Julys, or you know. So you read it, however, whatever floats your boat. I have something for you.
All right. So speaking of the Levesques, I want to give like a little Easter egg hunt to our attendees and let them know that your characters that they love so much continue through modern day.
Yes.
Like they're going to find the descendants in your Blessings books and in your romantic suspense novels, and like your universe is so comprehensive.
Yeah, we don't know where everybody is. The characters in my contemporaries are the descendants of the characters in my historicals. And my longtime readers know that there's only one book in the Beverly Jenkins universe that is not connected to everything else. And I'm not going to tell you, but they know. You just have to read the books. But the Levesques.
That's not nice.
Oh, hey, sister trying to sell a book.
No, you're trying to sell 51 books. Let's be
honest. That too. You got to pay my light bill, right? The Levesques show up in the Anthony Men, which are in Deadly Sexy, which is the movie that Iris put together. We, you know, crowdfunded it and raised the money to, you know, she's like Ava. I mean, she taught herself filmmaking, and she was tired of our products and, you know, projects not being green lighted. And she said, well, hell, I'm just going to teach myself how to, you know, do film. And so she did a couple of her own books, and then she did Deadly Sexy. So she put it together with the money that we raised, which of course was never enough, but she put it together with buttons and, shoestrings and paper clips, and, got a fabulous hero. And, so if you have not seen the Deadly Sexy movie, it is on Amazon Prime. But those are the LeBeck men. The Julys show up in the Blessing series.
Yes,
Lorelai and Grace's descendants, we don't know when those two lines crossed, but they are the ancestors of the Blake sisters, our mercenary Max and her sister JT. So it's all interwoven, and so that's
I
why
want to see the wall in your house where you have all this mapped out, because it's got to be like.
Which I did, and I wouldn't make mistakes about calling people, wrong names and all of that. But I did.
Well, how do you do it, Bev? Because I know Susan Elizabeth Phillips has given up keeping track of her books, so she reaches out to her readers. How do you do it?
Well, the readers help, and then one of the great things about Twitter and Romance Landia is, like I said, we share. And I was turned on to a woman named Lily, and Lily does book Bibles, and she will list all of your characters. I had her do that for the Blessing series for me. 45 pages later of characters, so I can try and keep them straight. I've had her do a couple of the historicals also. But I wish I had, I don't know how to do spreadsheets. I just know how to write. That's all I can do. My daughter is the spreadsheet queen. But I wish I had known about, Lily earlier in my career, and maybe wouldn't have, made some of the little glitches that I did. But, the readers, they sort of, most of them overlook them. But I do get, an occasional email, taking me to task for forgetting this or not doing that or not remembering this. And I'm, try and be gracious and say, thank you so much. I'll try and fix it next time. But Lily is all that. She is amazing. She's amazing.
I can't even imagine. Okay. I'm fast forwarding you to the future, or at least to the Reconstruction era.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk a little bit about Wild Rain, since that's why we're here tonight. We're closing in on your pub date, your book birthday and your birthday, or converting. I love this. And we talked a lot about this book, because honestly, you talk about, what is it, edutainment in your books a lot.
Yeah.
I learned so much from this book about Reconstruction era Wyoming territory and the just unfounded amount of rights that women had.
Yeah. I mean, they were trying to get the powers that be in the Wyoming territory. Thank you, Pam. She's my Vanna tonight. They were trying to get women to move from back east, as they called it, to Wyoming territory, to try and civilize the place, because women come into town and they will be instrumental in putting up churches and schools and settling things down so that you have communities and not just a bunch of men running around scratching and stuff. So,
Super Bowl Sunday's coming. Come on, girls.
I can't wait. But women will bring civilization, basically. So they offered women the vote, the right to vote, way before 1920. Put women in the legislature, and gave them all this power. And there were Black people in Wyoming. I mean, people have a tendency, unless they read my books, they have a tendency to believe that Black people were only in the South, but we were everywhere. So this is my third book in Wyoming. Started with
and you had Nevada in there too. So
yeah, Nighthawk, and then Tempest. So she shows up first, Spring does, in Tempest, which is in the Old West. I call them Rhine stories. She's in the Rhine trilogy. And she was such a powerful side character that when I was touring for Tempest, everywhere I went, people wanted, when is Spring going to get her book? When is Spring going to get a book? When is Spring? And I will often give a side character a book if I feel I know enough about their background to write it. I have, some people who want books, and I say, I don't know anything about that person, no. But with Spring, it was easy because she revealed so much of herself.
She
And
suffers no fools. That woman wears the pants.
she's a hard ass. I mean, she really is. As I've said in a lot of interviews in the last 2 weeks, that she's all hard edges and barbed wire. She's got her gun belt, she's got her horses, she's got her land. She doesn't need anybody else. So in comes this guy who is just as sweet as pie.
Your first cinnamon roll.
My first cinnamon roll hero. I had a guy did an interview yesterday. He said, "What in the hell is a cinnamon roll hero?" And I said, "Just somebody who's soft and not in a diminishing man kind of way, but he's just content to let her be herself. He's not trying to change her. He's not trying to, make her softer. And his strength is in how much he loves her." So in comes this, reporter, and he's just fascinated by her. He's from DC. He doesn't know any women that wear gun belts. He doesn't know any women who, break horses, and he's just fascinated by her. And she is determined not to fall in love, of course, because, I don't need love. I got a gun belt. So, but, this is their story. They balance each other very, very well. And I had such a great time writing her and writing this story. So hopefully readers will enjoy it as well.
I think they will. One of the things you and I talked about when we were writing the press kit for this book way back when was the fact that she doesn't want kids, which is so antithetical to romance, but there's such a core audience of romance who's looking for the heroine who, like them, wants to embrace her own life.
Yeah,
and it's really important to be representative.
Yeah, everybody should be represented on the page. A lot of people, they don't want kids. And we're not talking about the women who are medically unable. These are women who have made the choice that they want to be child-free. And there's nothing wrong with that. We don't see that very much in my brothers and sisters on the lobe. We don't see that very much in romance. In fact, and I was really disappointed. A reader said to me that she didn't think it would be a romance if there weren't babies. And I'm like, take a seat. No. We are all allowed to choose our own story. And those who choose that story is no less valuable or special than those who choose to have children. So, and that's who my book is dedicated to. The women who love horses and the women who refuse to change their minds. Because that's one of the things that, Spring is like, nope, not changing my mind. So,
but he changes his to be with her, and I love that.
Yeah, and I won't give any spoilers, but yeah, he has to make a decision. Does he want babies or does he want Spring? So he makes the right choice, of course. And they have and we don't know how it ends, but they are happy for now. But I enjoyed, because my characters create themselves. I don't create them. I enjoyed meeting her. I enjoyed being able to tell her story. Because like I said, everybody should be represented on the page.
Oh, she was one of my favorites ever. I loved her strength. They're all strong, but she just indomitable.
And she had a hard life, a really hard life growing up. And all of that goes into who she is. She can't change who she is. Life has molded her to be who she is, and she is not afraid of herself. She's not afraid to be herself. She don't have nothing to do with love, but the rest of it, she's like, take a seat. I'm good. So.
Yeah, it was fun to watch her fall because
she falls hard.
She falls hard. She didn't want to.
She didn't want to. She's like, no, get this man away from me.
And then she's like, come here, boy.
I know. It's like,
come here. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 more questions before we open it to the audience because we're already getting questions in. But if we want to talk about romance and we want to talk about like the wide world of romance, you brought this one up, tropes, talking about what the heck tropes are and maybe a couple of your favorite tropes and favorite books.
Tropes are so much fun. Oh my God. The tropes are sort of, the building blocks of how we create our stories. So some of the tropes are marriage of convenience, enemies to lovers, one bed. And in one bed you can weave that into a lot of different things.
Secret baby, Kelly says.
Yeah, secret babies, widows and brothers-in-law, rivals versus rivals. I mean, there's a whole, and they grow, like, dandelions in the field because somebody's always coming up with something new, which is one of the wonderful things about romance. So my favorites are marriage of convenience, of course. I have them in my historicals. I have them in a couple of contemporaries. And I always, I always said I hated secret babies until somebody pointed out, Miss Bev, you wrote a secret baby book. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, Destiny Surrender. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, I did. So I guess.
Snap.
I didn't even know I'd written a secret baby book. So I'm consciously not write another secret baby book. But I love my marriage of convenience, as you can probably tell by the books that I write. I love enemies to lovers. I love one bed. So tropes are really, really fun. We were on Twitter a couple nights ago, and one of the, I think he's a fantasy writer, had put up a trope about something, and it was like these romance writers just came out of the woodwork, and they were like, okay, we're gonna do this, and he was like, what are y'all doing? We're like, hey, when you say tropes, we come running. So yeah, tropes are cool. They're fun.
Tropes are cool.
Yeah.
All right. So before I open up to the audience, we talked about romance and the state of romance where it was when you got there. And you have been called a pioneer and a trailblazer. Those are big words, but they're very true because you have done the work, and hopefully we have been right there next to you doing the work with you. But there's more to be done, and you are very happy. And what I love about Ms. Bev is she is such a mentor to those who come after her.
Yeah.
So I want to know your future for romance.
Yeah, you can, when you are given a platform, like the platform that I've made over these 26 years, you can either share the light or be a bitch. So there are so many young women out there who are coming up behind me who, if I can help shine a light on them so they can have 26-year careers, that's pretty easy. That's a pretty easy, equation. What I'd like to see is continuing the continuing growth of the Black, Indigenous, people of color, all identities, part of romance, so that it further reflects the country, because everybody needs love. Everybody deserves to see themselves on the page. I mean, and that's it. I mean, I just want the path to be wider. I mean, it shouldn't be narrow. Love shouldn't be just for certain people, because that's not how life works. Life doesn't work that way. But, and I would like to encourage people to put away whatever misconceptions and myths they have about the romance genre, and come join us. One of the joys, I think, of writing romance is that you can write anything. We can write, there's mysteries, there's paranormal, there's, if you like vampires, there's vampires.
There's space.
There's space, there's dukes, even though there's only 28 dukes, we got thousands of dukes on the shelves.
Everyone's Simon crazy right now.
Oh,
they're all Simon crazy.
I know, let's not go there.
Okay, we won't. But it's,
some of the best writing out there is in romance. We are the largest piece of the pie. We sell more books than anybody else. We are keeping the lights on for publishing, so that they can take a chance on that so-called literary fiction. And we're here. I mean, anytime that you can write about relationships, people think writing romance is easy. So I want everybody who thinks romance is writing is easy, is sit down and write about your own relationship. From the first time you met, what we call the meet cute, from the first time you met that person to where you are now, and put in all of the ups and the downs and the around the corners and the arguments and all of that, and try and sell it. People can't do it. We can. Romance is the literature of hope. It's the literature of relationships. It's women-centered stories, which literature really doesn't have a whole lot of women-centered stories. You got stuff like Anna Karenina, where she throws herself under a train because of a fuck boy. It's like, please. We offer you a story that gives you hope and that you can come down with, and yes, everything has a HEA, but how the couple gets there is the magic in the story. So I hope there are no little kids out there watching this.
We haven't really gone down like the super sexy path. It's all good. I mean, my one thing that I'll say, my credo for the past 2 decades literally has always been, what would Bev Jenkins want me to do? Yeah. And for that, I thank you. Well, I've grown so much working with you for these years.
Sometimes all you can do is cuss. So, I try to rein that part of me when I'm being guests of bookstores who've never had me before. So,
not you, Ashley. You're doing a great job.
They will bring me back. So, okay, what kind of questions do we have?
Okay, we've got 2 in the chat, and I'm sure Ashley has a bunch, so I'm turning the controls over to her.
We have many, many questions. I'm going to kick us off with one I got in my email inbox before this event even started. But Pam and Bev, if you see one that's showing up that you really want to answer, we have time. We probably will not be able to get to all of these. So feel free to jump in.
Okay.
The one I got before this event was from Lisa Schaff or Schaaf. And she asked, Miss Beverly, how much time do you spend on research, especially your historical novels? And do the characters come to you and reveal themselves, or is your approach more methodical? And I think you touched on that a little bit in your conversation, that last question.
It depends on if I am familiar with the time period. If I'm writing something about Indian Territory, I've got a pretty good base now after doing Topaz and Always and Forever. So, but if it's someplace that I've never been before, like when I had to do the American Revolution, it took a little bit more time to make sure I get it right, because I want to get it right. And I use real scholars and their scholarship. So it depends on the time period. And yes, the characters come to me whole, and it's just, my job to try and figure it out. I often say that, and I'm a pantser, so, I write by the seat of my pants. I don't do very much outlining or any of that. So I always think my characters are in the corner of my office laughing at me because they know the story and I don't. And they'll feed me little pieces, here and there. And finally, I sort of know where I'm doing and where I'm going with the story. So hopefully that answered that question. Okay. Next question.
I believe you did. I'm seeing one question in the chat here, and I think, Pamela, you just asked if anybody is attending their first romance event. So I think this question is maybe more for some of those romance newbies. And it was, does a romance always conclude with a happy love ending for the main character?
Yes, it does. We call it the HEA or the HFN, which is happy for now. And the beauty and the magic in the story is, like I said, we all of them end with an HEA. The magic in the story is how are they going to get there? Because, writers will create different characters with different baggage, with different backstories. And our readers look for that HEA. If you're going to write what you call a romance that doesn't have an HEA, they're going to come to your house. Because that defines the genre for us. And no, life doesn't always end in a happily ever after, but in romance that we write, yes. I mean, because you don't go into a relationship saying, okay, well, I'm gonna divorce this person in a week. I mean, you go into a relationship with hope, and you go into a relationship with love, and hopefully that you're gonna be together forever. So, so yes, every romance, whether it's paranormal, whether it's vampires, whether it's, aliens, Anna Guire's writing aliens now, you get a HEA at the end. That's a guarantee. Okay. Nothing wrong with it.
Everything is right with it.
Yeah.
Everyone should have an HEA.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think one of the things we've seen in the last year is the need for an HEA. And we've seen so
yes.
much longing for that in the reading world.
Yeah. And that's where romance has been, flying off the shelves for the last, 2 or 3 years. People need that comfort. People want to come home to something that they know is going to make them feel good at the end of the book, as opposed to something that's going to make them, rage and kick the dog or whatever, so, because there's enough of that going on outside of their houses. So romance is, like I said, the literature of hope.
And let's underscore literature.
Yeah, please. We do not write with crayons.
We do not write with crayons.
Some people think we do. And some people think they use a different alphabet than we do. There's only 26 letters in the alphabet. It depends on how you spin it. And unless you have gotten a Pulitzer or a Nobel Prize for literature, you don't have a right to look down your nose at anybody else. I mean, when you take that shit someplace else. So we're all in this together, trying to create stories that our readers embrace, regardless of genre. And one genre is no better than the other. Like I said, because we folks than anybody. So if anybody should be looking down their nose at folks, it should be us. And we're not. So the beauty of romance.
Beauty of romance.
So switching gears a little bit, I'm seeing a question from Holly. It was the first question asked, and I think it's a bigger one. how do we describe diverse characters without including accents and without using some of the stereotypes that are true? I don't want to insult readers, but I don't want to homogenize my stories here.
Well, you know, you're just writing characters. You're writing people. We're no different. White characters from the South have an accent. Do you worry about that? Don't get your characters from TV. If you don't have any people of color or people of all identities in your life, then maybe you don't want to write that story. You know, and I hesitate to say, you know, don't write the story. But I was in a workshop one time and a woman said she wanted to write a story about a Mexican family. And I said, well, how much experience do you have with that? And she said, well, you know, I saw them on television and I'm like, oh, no, baby, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Learn about the history, learn about the culture, ask questions, have someone who is of that culture, maybe vet it, and then ask yourself, why do you want that person in your story? I mean, it's perfectly okay to have all white stories. It's perfectly okay to have all black stories. But if you're gonna, you know, put a character in there that, you know, just because you think you need diversity, then you might want to ask yourself why. And if you don't have a good answer, then, like I said, I don't want to discourage you, but there's a whole, you know, and it's okay to get it wrong as long as you learn from it and you don't do it, you know, again. I mean, it's such a confusing, conflicting kind of conversation. But I'm not discouraging you, but I'm telling you to at least try and get it correct. That's all I got.
Fair.
Okay, I'm going to jump us to a different question here. And again, Pam and Bev, if anything's jumping out at you, free. I think this is kind of a funny question.
Okay.
Joy Harris. Pam, what is something you can share with us that makes Miss Bev laugh?
Oh, Joy. Something that makes Miss Bev laugh. Oh my God.
Everything, really.
Honestly, we always laugh. Like half of our time talking together, we're just talking about stupid shit and we just start bursting out laughing. And you know what? For Bev, it's literally the love of life. I've never met a person with so much appreciation for every smile, every friendship, every blessing. She doesn't take anything for granted at all, ever. And she meets every day with a smile. I have wagged my finger at her so many times and she just wrinkles her nose and laughs at me as I go outside in the conference and she's out there doing the thing and I'm like, and she laughs at me. She's like, little girl, don't you be giving me lessons.
No, take your ass back inside.
But that's friendship. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Let her give me the shit.
Yeah. She's the best, though. Pam's the best. Okay,
No,
I ask you a question. Do you want more live action movie? Excuse me.
Do you want more live action movie, Miss Beth?
Interpretation of your book. Yes. I want, you know, and I'm gonna be petty. I want every book I've ever written.
Okay, let's start with one. What's your number one that you want made?
I have two.
Okay, what's your number one and two that you want made?
Jessie Rose, because, and I want Taraji Henson to play Jessie Rose. I can just see her on that roof with the moon behind her with her rifle in her hand going, who the hell are you and why are you on my land? And I also want to do Topaz, the Mail Order Brides, because I would love to see a movie that is filled with Black actresses. And that's also a Western. So those are my two favorites. Hollywood, call me. You have my number. Jesse Rose and Topaz would be mine.
Be or two. I mean, honestly, Al Roker. If you want to say one or two words.
Yeah, he's doing. He's optioned. The Blessing series was still in. We're still doing the paperwork. You know, there's nothing really on paper yet, but
But Al Roker. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't even know he had a entertainment arm, but people have told me that he's done some things. He did a documentary series on the Coast Guard, and he's done a couple of Lifetime movies or Hallmark movies. I'm not sure which one, but
well, what resonated with him was the foster angle.
Yeah, and I guess he has some of that in his past.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love it. I'm on book 11 with that series.
That would make for a nice, not mini series, but
yeah, make for quite a bit. For those who are
Peacock, hello Peacock.
Yeah, those who are not familiar with me, I write romance and I write a women's fiction series called The Blessings Books. And it's about a woman who buys a town and brings in foster kids to be raised by foster people and it's in Kansas, in that same little town that I created for my very first book, Henry Adams. So we're 11 books in and everybody loves it and I'm loving writing it, and I'm way behind on finishing this book 11. It's a Christmas book, be out next year. So I want to thank the readers for embracing it the way that they have. So, yeah.
All right, one more, I think.
Somebody's reading Jesse Rose right now. I see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Ashley, give us one more, and then we're going to make Bev give everyone a recommendation on what to buy along with Wild Brain.
Yeah, we have so many good questions. I wish I could throw them all at you. I'm saying one, and I think I'd like to end this on a positive note. And Christina's asking, she said, you've said that the 19th century is your favorite time period. What is your favorite region to write about? I think I'm going to expand that question a little bit more broadly too.
Okay.
What do you want to write about next? What's the region? What's the ideal for you?
I love New Orleans and I love the West. So if I'm going to do a romance, I would love to pick one of those two places. Because there's not enough Black Westerns out there, and 35% of the cowboys in the 19th century were African American men. So I love that portion, the Wild West, whether it's female centered, whether it's male centered. But that's my love. I love a good, as my grandfather used to call them, I love a good shoot 'em up. So yeah. All right. Pam, your last question.
My last question, Miss Bev, is that, okay, everyone, once again, I want to thank Grassroots for hosting us. This has been lovely,
yes.
and Ashley's been a beautiful host.
So much. This has been fun. Thank you, Pam.
Oh,
Thank you.
What you need to do, right? And I think Bev is signing book plates, so y'all know what you need to do.
Yeah.
But Bev, if there were one other book that you wanted them to buy tonight from Grassroots, what would it be? What are you reading that you're loving that you think everyone should give a chance?
Well, it's about the platform again, right?
No, just give us what you love, girl.
I want you to go to the Women of Color in Romance website. And I want you to pick out a book so that you can support these up and coming women and show them some love. So the Women of Color in Romance website, and there are tons, absolutely tons of choices, contemporary, Christian, not a whole lot of historicals, but there are some historicals over there too. And just pick out an author. And if you don't like it, that author, pick out somebody else, because you don't stop reading white authors just because you run into one you don't like. So that is my request and my wish, is that you go, and the site is put up by the very, very awesome Rebecca Witherspoon, who's also a fabulous writer. So support, but I'm good. I just want you guys to start supporting, keep buying my books. I'm not saying that, but
Keep buying her books, peeps.
share the love of romance share your love of romance with some new authors, and see who you like and who you want to, dance with the romance dance for the next 20, 25 years. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So
Thank you for those closing words. And thank you everyone so much for coming. This was such a fun conversation to be a part of. And Beverly and Pam, I truly appreciate your willingness to share your time and your insight with us, cussing and all.
Anytime I can sit and cuss with Bev. I mean, if you knew some of the conversations we had that I can't tell you, because they're really,
yeah,
I believe it.
we could get each other in trouble.
Yeah, we really could. Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully, if this pandemic ever ends, I can hop on a plane and come out and visit you guys and the readers out there in person. That would be wonderful. So
One day.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful turnout. Thank you to everyone who came.
Please order your books from them, okay?
Yes, order your books from us on our website or in our storefront if you're local.
Yeah, help a bookstore out, okay? That's my part of my wish tonight too, is support them for supporting us.
All right, and Brittany, Ashley will coordinate with Bev's publicist, and I'm sure we can get signed book plates to the store. So signed books are a little bit hard, but book plates are a lot easier in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Very true. We will coordinate. I do have to do the last spiel at the end. I do hope all of you will join us for future events in the romance series. We are hosting Vanessa Riley next week on the 12th, and then we have local authors in Nora Scott on the 16th and queer romance author Corelia Waters on the 25th. So these events are all on our website and our Facebook page, and so please check those out afterwards. So on that note, thank you again, everyone, so much for being here, and we hope to see you back for more events soon. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye, Pam.